If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
We're in Way Media. Welcome back to Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast, where this season we are taking a look at George A. Romero's 1980s television series, Tales from the Darkside. Sharing the Midnight View with me are the projection booth's Mike White.
Well, I'm just going to break all of those 10 commandments.
Also joining us is the CultureCast Chris Stashew.
I don't know if you guys know this, but practitioners of voodoo are known to make gingerbread cookies.
Damn fine ones, evidently. Just don't dunk them.
I've heard they're killer.
Tonight, we are taking a look at 2 episodes from Season 3. Those are Baker's Dozen and Deliver Us from Goodness. Baker's Dozen, Season 3, Episode number 9, originally aired on November the 23rd, 1986, written by George Andrew Romero from a story by Scott Edelman and directed by John Sutherland, who is actually John Harrison. Not sure why the pseudonym, because anyway, this one stars Mabel King, Larry Manetti, Vernon Washington. It is the story of an unscrupulous potential ad man trying to make a cookie manufacturer famous in New Orleans. That's as broad as I can get. What'd you think of this one, Mike?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Actually, I've gone on record many times saying how much I dislike voodoo, especially in movies. In real life, I guess it's okay. But in movies and in TV shows, it's usually just so hackneyed. And the whole thing of having voodoo dolls and all that stuff, usually it's just not pulled off very well. But I love the mean-spiritedness of this episode and just how the use of these voodoo doll cookies, they really played up for what I enjoy quite a bit. And then seeing Vernon Washington was fantastic as well. I love him in things like The Last Starfighter and other 80s things. So seeing him show up in this, I was just like, yeah, this works for me. How about you,
That's
Chris?
where I knew him from. Oh my God. I was going to ask you. I was like the entire episode just going, what? I know him. I know he said something that it rings in my head, but what is it? It's from fucking Last Starfighter.
Yeah, I think it's something like "Keep on Dreaming" or something like that.
Chris, what did you think of this one?
The amount of voodoo stuff that we've seen Father Malone is a lot. It's not on one hand, it could be counted on two. And I think this might be the first thing that doesn't feel
Cliche.
yeah, but also that weird white people voodoo where it's like, this is voodoo through the lens of the white man. Great. This is what I needed. Voodoo dolls and zombies. This is essentially voodoo cookies, which is a subsidiary of voodoo donuts. And for all you asshole Pacific Northwesterners out there, I like the idea. I think it works. It's bizarre. It like you said, Father Malone, broadly. Yeah, it's a pretty broad idea that makes no sense in reality, but I enjoyed it. And the premise is weird. Tales from the dark side in its mean-spiritedness. And yeah, it doesn't feel like a bunch of white people wrote a voodoo episode set in Haiti. Because that's literally what we've seen. Look, it's probably, they're verging on it by setting it in New Orleans. I think we would all agree. However, if that's what they're going to do, okay. I'm okay with that. Just don't set it in fucking Haiti. Don't have people dancing around a fucking fire in loincloths, because that's literally Tales from the Crypt. And it was, what's the term? Racist. Yeah, that's the one.
You hit the nail on the head. It's the problem with every voodoo episode, every voodoo story we keep getting is because we end up in the goddamn jungle in a hut with a half-naked person. It's ridiculous.
Multiple half-naked people and literally full naked in Tales from the Crypt fucking case.
I'm thinking particularly of Lagoda's heads on that last season of Night Gallery.
Oh, I'm thinking of that one from season 2 of Tales from the Crypt where it's the bride dies and then the guy's head is on the plate. You remember that one, the zombie bride? Yeah.
I do. And
I know you do. You're having fucking flashbacks like it's Vietnam, or the redheaded James Remar episode with Whoopi Goldberg doing voodoo. How about that one?
Ooh, boy.
You know, the problem though, Chris, is that when I flash onto those episodes in my mind, I remember how good the visual effects were. And then it starts to convince me that that was a good television series. And then I think about all those people out there on social media saying, remember this show? It was the best. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
You are fucking wrong.
Okay.
Remember how good this show was. Wow.
No.
Bring it back.
Yeah. Watch it again.
Also, no.
Just sit down and do a rewatch and then tell me how awesome it was. Here's my question. Why would you make an aggressive cookie? She has voodoo flavors that will give you what they promise. So a happy one, which is all she eats, keeps her happy all day. And Larry Minetti says, oh, I had an aggressive one on the way over here. And I'm like, why is she making that for does she want her customers to be aggressive suddenly? Like they can eat those in the store, Mabel.
Especially a white man in New Orleans.
Okay.
On top of everything else.
Pulling this out of Hades, perfect. If you didn't tell me this was New Orleans, I wouldn't have known. You could have said this was Detroit. I would have been like, okay, fine. This is some back alley, right? Because the Larry Minetti character has shown up. He has discovered these cookies. He knows that they have some sort of magical ingredient. He doesn't know that it's magic. He's convinced himself it's not. He just wants to market it for them. He's opening up his own ad firm. We get too much backstory on Larry Minetti's character in this Tales from the Dark Side. His goal is simply to become her primary advertising agency. And then he gives us the mock-up of the ad that he's come up with. And the ad copy is this: little brown bags full of country sunshine to help you cope with city life. That doesn't make me think about poop at all. That's his ad campaign. I would say no, because that's terrible, and get out of here. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
You'd want to set those on fire and leave them on your neighbor's doorsteps.
That's what it sounds like to me. I would like to say bravo to the editor of this episode for dealing with all the ceiling fan blade shadows on the actors' faces. That was a level of difficulty that editor didn't need, but really rose to the occasion because John Harrison is constantly doing stuff like that. Again, not sure why he pulled his name off of it. We're eventually going to interview Mr. Harrison and find these questions out. But one thing I really did like, he does this in everything. He loves transitions. And in this one, we don't get a transition, but we get a montage where the rise of Cousin's Cookies through this advertising sequence where he has taken slides and like projected images onto a radio. It's really cool for the limited budget they've got going in here on Darkside. In fact, this entire episode looks really, really good considering some of the recent ones we've had.
Other than the cutaways with the rat, which is obviously a budgetary thing, that's where they're getting the most out of Vernon Washington that they can, and he's doing what he can. But we go from man to woman to man, man to woman to man, man to woman to man, man to woman to rat, and she's playing with Play-Doh the whole time. Is what it looks like. It's like what's going on? What is going on? And then he turns into a rat. That's the only time it feels kind of cheap, but they work around it in the only way that they can. I feel like it's the only way you work around it when you have a budget of this level.
I can't even say where the rest of the budget went necessarily, but there is a lot going on here. You know what? I will say where it went to. He made the episode look really good. He came in with a shot list and a design for the episode, for this particular episode. And I've noticed Harrison does that specifically for each of the episodes, tailoring it to the story at hand. Yeah, I do think it's chintzy in places, but if we're going to have chintzy be the false looking cookie dough, as opposed to it's obviously a fucking set that they've thrown up some lights onto, and it's a couple of actors reading lines from. This felt like a short film to me with a couple of budgetary constraints.
Agreed. I agree with that because we've seen some real clunkers in terms of the quality of the production design of the sets. Sometimes we've seen some stuff that I can't even believe that they were trying to pass off in the mid 80s as anything other than this is clearly filmed on a set. Yeah, this doesn't look like it was filmed on a set. This looks rather well done. Again, for me, it's just the arbitrariness of the cookies and the voodoo. And
my problem here,
so weird, just arbitrary and random.
My problem with the episode is Romero, in any of his writing, will always overwrite at the beginning of an episode. It'll be a weird exposition dump, and it sometimes doesn't feel like an exposition dump, but it kind of always is, and it always frightens me. And then once the plot gets going and the characters settle in, then it becomes great. But I always have the fear at the beginning of everything, and I had it again here because it is clumsy at the very beginning of this. But what I loved about the episode is what I love about Darkside, which is the entire time I'm thinking about this kitchen rat that Vernon Washington is playing. And I'm wondering what the relationship is here. And I'm thinking, is this like a husband thing or family in some way? It turns out to be dad. And then she turns him into a rat.
Right.
Over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's our term of endearment.
He's so incredibly mean here. And so at that point, because now we're watching Larry Minetti, who is clearly this greedy prick, and we're not rooting for him. I was kind of rooting for Mabel King's character because she seemed to manipulate, not allowing herself to be manipulated and gaming the system. But now it turns out she's just as bad as everyone. So at that point, I'm like, wait, who am I rooting for? And sometimes that's great in Tales from the Dark Side because everyone is terrible.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That is 2025 TV at writ large. You've got TV shows of just solely terrible people being terrible to one another. A la Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons, Succession, and I'm sure The Sopranos, a lot of the Breaking Bad. A lot of that is now just terrible. I don't understand why we have to root for anybody in any of these shows. Kind of don't feel like it's a requirement. I kind of would rather want everybody to get theirs in the end and nobody be left standing.
But that's the thing. And that's where this series reigns supreme, because in the EC tradition, everyone's getting fucked. Doesn't matter how good or bad you were. I loved the ending of this episode.
Oh, God.
Just to jump ahead, I guess. But first of all, Okay, they introduced Larry Manetti's wife, who I loved. This actress has been in two things. This is one of them, but she's just got a great face. So they introduced this character, and then we get this rise to power of Larry Manetti. Obviously, he's like the king of advertising in the New Orleans area now by the time. And then the wife comes back, and I wrote in my notes here, she's still alive. Like he didn't have her killed in some way. Even if she was, like she'd still be with him. That's kind of silly. But then they do the old found the hotel receipt in your pocket kind of situation here, but it's the handkerchief. And when she crushes the cookie, and then
yes,
because
the blood in the shower,
and it's not just but it's blood. It's chunky to the point of
chunks.
We're almost going to get viscera.
Yeah.
And once again, I'd like to remind our listeners that this television series was syndicated on Sunday nights at 7 p.m.
Wild.
Yeah, that is what really put this episode over the edge for me, was that crushing of the cookie and then what happens to Mabel King. Oh man.
Oh my God. And I was totally sad. They could have run the credits over the shower full of blood. But then we get back to Mabel King, who is having her skull eaten away by a rat.
Yes. And it wasn't the wife, wasn't she? He kept dipping the cookie in hot coffee and she's screaming from the hot coffee. I was like, oh, that's so good.
And then he drowned someone. There's one of the things, drowned. County commissioner drowns dipping a cookie in a cup of coffee. You sick fuck.
Oh, I love it.
He gets what he deserves in this one big time. They all do.
They all do. Yeah, nobody's good. Everybody's evil.
The wife collects insurance.
Yeah,
she'll be okay. And like she was crazy about, even she deserves something because she just thought he was cheating on her.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas she should just have recognized what a dick he was. Here was my favorite line in the movie, in the show, Mabel King to her dad, "I'm going to work you till you frazzle."
Yes.
Wow. Okay. You got to love a gingerbread voodoo doll. Back to the original sort of point in this episode, like as far as reimagining what a voodoo episode can be, like giving us kind of the signs and signifiers, but turning them on their head a bit, like bravo, Darkside. And also, bravo, almost mid-season 3, Darkside. This is unprecedented in the world of anthology television for us so far. Our next episode is Deliver Us from Goodness. This is season 3, episode 10, aired originally on November the 16th, 1986. Written by Julie Selbo from a story by Suzette Hayden Elgin, and directed by Warner Shook. Starring Kehlani Lee, Mary Louise Wilson, Stephen Vinovich, and Jane Addams, giving the first teenage performance on an anthology show that wasn't completely annoying, but actually good. This is the story of a mother and housewife who is an accidental saint. When her husband is running for office, her godliness is getting in the way, so she has to sin her sainthood away to ensure her husband's election. Chris, what did you think of this?
Are you speaking in fucking tongues right now? It's the most exposition-y shit possible. What a strange, odd, bizarre episode. Unlike the last one, feels very set-bound. Unlike the last one, everyone, for the most part, seems perturbed by one another in some form or fashion. And the premise is so strange. What were they on? What the fuck were they on? This is the last premise was I understood it. They're like taking the voodoo tradition with the cookie, with the dolls and turning them into cookies. With this, it's a guy running for mayor. His wife becomes a saint, and so she starts just becoming an immoral clown. But she could just go suck some dicks walking through the parking lot to quote Clerks, and that's more than enough as long as it's not her husband, per the Bible. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I don't and then this is solved. Like it's the concept is weird. It makes no sense. I hope that maybe I'm not the only one who feels this way. Maybe I am. I turn the floor over to Mike White.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about this episode. I like how hyper stylized it is. You mentioned Jane Addams, who at this point in her life was 21 years old. So no wonder she was playing a really good teenager.
Ah,
But
damn it.
she does it great though. And I
Yeah.
mean, I love her. I love her in everything that I've seen. Even Orange County, I thought she was great in. But yeah, I love her in Happiness and everything else I've seen her. And I love the whole thing of her and the, what do you call those things? Like,
Baton.
Baton. Yes. Thank you. And yeah, she's just such a spaz. But I kind of like how just over the top all of this acting is. Our main character just is way bigger than life. That southern accent is just off of the chain. And yeah, it's just, it feels very hurt. And yeah, I think I kind of liked it. To Chris's point, it felt like once they got the point of she's a saint, but she doesn't want to be a saint, then yeah, maybe they could have had a lot more fun with that. We've seen people in movies committing a lot of sins. One of my favorites is Day of the Beast, the Iglesia, is it Iglesia Inuratu? No, I can't remember who directed that one, but where the priest is trying to meet the devil, and so he starts doing all of these horrible things so that he can hopefully conjure the devil to meet him and avert the Antichrist being born. But anyway, that was very fun. I wanted them to have more fun with this one. The Ruby character looked very familiar to me, but I cannot place where I've seen her before. But then with her suddenly becoming a saint at the end, I was like, wait, no, she's not supposed to be a good person. She's the one that was teaching this other person how to be evil. The end of this, it didn't stick the landing. Let's put it that way. What do you think, Father Malone?
About that ending, it to me felt like in the end, sainthood is more of a contagion than anything.
Yes, yes.
So that I really liked. I really liked this episode. I know it was Scentbound. It's Warner Shook directing. Warner Shook, mainly an actor, was in Knight Riders and Creep Show. He's cousin in Father's Day. He's Richard, the nephew. The oh my god,
Right.
that's Warner Shook, and by now had started directing theater. Would end up winning a Pulitzer Prize for the Kentucky Cycle, I believe, as a director. And what we're seeing here are stage actors being directed by a stage guy who isn't that adept visually. Nevertheless, the writing is so fucking over the top in height, and everyone I think is coming up to that. I really liked it. Talk about high concept. Okay, mom's a saint, didn't realize it, an accidental saint. And in order for her husband to be elected mayor, she has to no longer be saintly. Let's go along with this. And then, so now she has to break all 10 commandments. I agree. Didn't have enough fun with it. But then I think they were just worried that they were overloading us by that point with so much as far as plot contrivance. Nevertheless, what this reminded me of was the very economical sequence in Used Cars where Garrett Graham has to have all of the bad luck. So his team
Right.
will lose in the bar where he has to climb under a ladder and dump out all the salt and break a mirror. They could have gone for that. Nevertheless, the performances across the board, I really enjoyed, particularly the mom, Kaylani Lee, who seemed so cartoony and yet grounded at the same time. And yet, I don't know, I believed everything that was going on with her. I love the fact that at a certain point, Bruce Springsteen becomes a deity to be prayed to, along with
Yes.
Buddha. And just as far as having fun with breaking the commandments, when the mom comes in and she's wearing Jane Addams' Bruce Springsteen shirt, and she's like, "That's my shirt." She's like, "No, it's not. It's mine." And you get, oh, she's lying and stealing at the same time. Okay, this is good. Now, to the point of the adultery, she fucks the priest.
It's true.
What?
Mhm.
What? I was I hadn't seen this one, guys. But this was the first time for me. The Deliver Us from Goodness. That floored me. That and then that it wouldn't work because I don't know if Julie Selbo or Suzette Elgin is Catholic. For Catholics, intent counts. That's the sin. So if you're doing the wrong thing for the right reason, it doesn't count.
Mm.
I love that that was introduced here.
And this goes back to some of these other heightened ones that we've talked about. I guess I might just not be the biggest fan of these heightened episodes because I wasn't a big fan when we saw it on Tales from the Crypt. Wasn't a big fan. We saw it on Twilight Zone 85. Something about these, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I think that's ultimately the problem with something that's hyper stylized is there will be people that fall on the outer margins that just don't vibe with it. And I think I might be in there. I like the idea of the episode. I just think, yeah, to your point, Father Malone, like to say they don't explore it enough is maybe underselling how little they do explore it, which is not very much at all.
I think if they had more of a visual stylist working it out, making it a bit more cartoony, I think it would have been easier to accept it overall. Having said that, here's my favorite line. And oh God, what will it take for you to forsake me?
A good line.
That's a good one. And at one point, Mom says, God damn it. And that, again, rocked me on my heels because I remember 1986, 1987. You couldn't say that on TV. At least I thought not at the time. So wondering how that got through.
Yeah, that was something. Because, yeah, they would always have to cut away from any sort of combination of those two words together.
Or, yeah, you would just hear God and they would drop out the dam or vice versa. But it's clear as day here. Maybe they could make a point to the censors that it was a necessary thing here instead of just casually thrown out. But still, that was shocking. Almost as shocking was the goddamn synthesizer banjo that they had as their theme at the beginning of this.
That really hurt. And it sounded so close to Oh, Susanna, but wasn't.
Right. So ultra maddening.
Yeah. That had that not been present, I think I would have that would have been a full extra star. Let's put it that way.
Good Gadusky. Apparently the priest, that's the priest, his exclamation in this.
Good Gadusky. Thank you for saying it. I've been sitting here trying to remember what it was this whole time. Good Lord. Good
Gadusky. There you go.
Oh my God. Now stepping up to the plate, playing for the Seattle Mariners, Good Gazowski. Taps his bat with his shoes, taps shoes with his bat. It sounds like an old baseball player. What kind of again, it's so stylized that just feeds into it. So it's just like, ugh, I don't know. I just don't vibe with it, but I get it. I want this premise to work because it's such a strange premise. Like, where else are you going to get this kind of premise other than an anthology show? You're not going to get this turned into a full movie.
Stay out of our beach community, Gadzuski.
Gadzuski. Gadzuski. It's a good working Polish name.
I think both these episodes are good. I think they're really good. I recommend them both outright. Here's to hoping we get more from Tales from the Dark Side. I say that every episode. Apparently, it's paying dividends.
I would say we very well may.
All right. On the next episode of Midnight Viewing, we're taking a look at the next two episodes of season 3. Those are Seasons of Belief and Miss Medusa. Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast, is a proud member of Weirding Way Media Group. Our theme song was composed by HP with an assist by Donald Rubenstein. Until next time, what are you working on? Where can people find it, Mike White?
You can find pretty much everything I do over at weirdingwaymedia.com, except for the show that Chris and I do once a month with our friend Richard Haddam and occasionally with Father Malone, which is called Rankin' on Bond. And you can find that at our respective Patreons, patreon.com/culturecast and patreon.com/projection booth. How about you, Chris?
As for me, same spiel, different voice, weirdingwaymedia.com, patreon.com/culturecast or /Father Malone or /projection booth. Like Mike said, Rankin' on Bond. When we're done with Rankin' on Bond, we might do movies about people who are going fishing and call it Crankin' on Pond. Never know. Who knows? Crankin' on Ass still, I think, is the best one. We'll never do that one. Or we might. Who knows? But those can more than likely be found on the Patreon if we ever do anything beyond Rankin' on Bond. But as for now, Rankin' on Bond is on Patreon. So that's where you can go to find all that. So, Father Malone, what about you? Take us home from the promised land of self-promotion.
I'd like to announce my new show, Cranking on Ass, over on my Patreon channel.
Hell
Nice.
yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
That is patreon.com/Father Malone. You're going to get episodes like, well, the one you're listening to now. You'll get those early commercial-free and bonus content you can only get there. If money is tight, you can do us a favor. Just like the show or give it a bunch of 5 stars or subscribe or like it or tell someone to listen to it. Tell someone who has to listen to it to listen to it. Thank you all for joining us here on Midnight Viewing. Until next time, Try to enjoy the daylight.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.